This Anycubic S1 Max is already a pain in my butt. My last video, I had to completely disassemble it. That's not exaggerating, because step 1 was to replace the XY axis stepper motors. I provided feedback it was likely the driver board or a motherboard, but step 1 was motor replacement. At the time, I didn't know exactly what I was getting into, and had I known, I would have returned this while I was within my return window. But I didn't, and here we are. I honestly don't know if my problems moving forward were due to Anycubic asking a customer to completely disassemble this printer or not, but I'm not new at this type of repairs and gave an honest effort to do it right. This time my prints are skewed about 15 degrees, whatever I print. I had a calibration object that printed fine, but skewed. A pencil holder for my 6-year-old's new desk that I thought was skewed for artistic reasons. Then I went to print the included 4-color fidget spinner model, and the first color and second color were not aligned on the print bed, and nor was the purge tower. Going back to simple troubleshooting, a cube from the slicer's primitive list was also skewed. My printer wasn't fixed at all. Unrelated, but I did realize I missed a connection back here that goes to the daughter board that then goes to the ACE. That was easily fixed though. In the end, I did finally get what I wanted, but let's just say it was a journey. I like to fix my own things, and this was honestly the first time I reached out to support for any printer of mine. I didn't realize how important a good support department is until now, and might be something I test for in other manufacturers, because my Snapmaker U1 has a printhead issue that I may call in instead of just replacing the part. Can they do better? Is this support nightmare industry standard? Well, according to the responses, I got the same person for this ticket, probably, from my first video, so let's all strap in to the struggle bus. If I had to have prints as soon as possible, but my printers like this were down, I'd reach out to PCBWay. I'm a little late on this video, but they are currently having their 12th anniversary sale where you can find games, prizes, quizzes, and most importantly, coupons. I've used their CNC machining in the past, but you can also find 3D printing, custom PCBs, and PCB assembly. Orders within the sale will get free black, purple, or pink solder mask for rigid, flexible, or rigid flex PCBs. Use my link in the description below to check it out. Again, something was off. My prints were skewed about 15 degrees, like my squares would print as parallelograms. I have never seen this kind of issue before, so before reaching out to support, I did adjust the belt tension since one motor could be forced to work harder than the other. It didn't seem to work, so off to submit our new shiny ticket. One evening later, it looks like I got the same person again as my previous ticket, which didn't give me that warm fuzzy feeling because there was a fair amount of mistakes last time, like sending me the wrong motherboard for the S1 instead of the S1 Max, and insisting I replace the XY motors despite them working and telling them that I swapped the connections on the motherboard and then the other one was broken. So each one worked when plugged into this guy's connection, not this one. Well, here we go. Started off with some basic maintenance, which was kind of expected in the response, but while I don't think the printer needed it, once again, I followed the instructions to a T. With benefit of the doubt, this was going somewhere. Wiped the linear rods and Z-axis screws, lubricated them as instructed to do so, skipped the camera cleaning and cutter inspection because that had no impact, so I guess mostly do a T. Again, didn't clean the fan since it didn't impact the path of travel. Plus, this is printed for like 2 hours so far. The fan is fine. Wiped the bed down with some isopropyl alcohol and yeah, that didn't work. So my goal in every response was to provide an itemized list of everything I had done. So with that sent back to Anycubic, it's another night while I wait for a response. Sure enough, I have a response in the morning and I was told my ruler did not maintain a 90-degree position. So the ruler measures angles too, and if it was in a 90-degree position, I wouldn't be making this video right now. So I don't know if it was lost in translation or what, because if I'm speaking with an engineer, then I like to think that they know what this angle finder ruler is doing. Well, I cleared it up by putting the ruler at 90 degrees and showing that the lines were not parallel with the ruler. Glad we could spend time on that. So I don't know if he believed me or not, but I got a wiki page for first layer troubleshooting in the response. Although frustrating, I could see the progression from maintenance to first layer, despite being as clear as I could. So what did I do? I removed, cleaned, reinstalled, heated, then used a wire brush to clean the nozzle. Next, I was supposed to heat soak the print bed for 10 minutes, so I left it at, I think, 60 degrees Celsius. Yeah, for 10 minutes. Unsurprisingly, the first layer printed great. Also unsurprisingly, it was still skewed. I think my z-axis is fine, but to test that, I printed the cube primitive in the slicer, which defaults to 35 millimeters. And yes, it was skewed in the XY axis, but perfectly 90 degrees on the z-axis. So I was glad to rule that out, even though support didn't rule it out quite yet. Again, with my experience in the last ticket, trusting a customer to do a complete disassembly, damaging foam that sits against the glass because screws are under it, and skewed prints being the most important of the few issues I still have, I laid down the idea of a replacement. Let's plant that seed. Polite but firm, and we're starting with showing some frustration at the situation. Never the support agent, because I don't know if they are an engineer or a customer support agent, if they're doing their best or not. If an engineer, they are clearly forced to navigate a script, and even then, I know this issue is going to be extremely difficult to solve one email at a time, one day at a time. But if I don't start asking for a replacement, it'll never happen. That's bad business. Another day, another response, and well, my replacement comment was ignored. I kind of expected that, to be honest, because that is the expensive option. Anyway, this response felt different, like an engineer was attempting to address my issue instead of a troubleshooting wiki page. It was detailed, had no links in it, had a structured task, and it had a structure with task followed by the procedure to complete that task. Maybe my replacement request prompted another level of engineer? I honestly don't know, but my excitement was squashed with what I realized was my biggest issue I had all along among these tickets, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. Product knowledge. I was getting links to the S1 Max Wiki, the S1 Wiki, getting parts for an S1 despite having an S1 Max, and being asked to do things that aren't actually possible without some ingenuity. You have to let me explain on this one. So step one was to tighten a grub screw or set screw on the stepper motors. Great, but these don't have one. Even on their own wiki for the S1 Max, the printers do not show a grub screw on a D-shaped motor shaft. The shaft is circular and the gear is pressed on, so there's nothing to adjust. I think my head actually hit the desk when I discovered that. Step two was to use my angle measure to verify linear rods are perpendicular. Okay, but there are a lot of other things going on around these rods to prevent it from simply being measured, like the mounts at the ends of the rods are slotted in. I can solve this though. After failing to renew a student license for Fusion, I created a jig using a known good printer in Tinkercad that sat flush against the linear rods and had a cutout for my ruler. Yep, it's 90 degrees. Finally, for step three, I had to verify the print head was not loose, and well, it wasn't. After giving it a good few wiggles, let's add another sentence or two about being frustrated again at the printer and send it off. Yep, the replacement comment was ignored again, and this time I was sent to a wiki page on the S1 for layer shift. Fine, I guess. It was different than the first layer troubleshooting, except it really wasn't in my case. Clean and lube each axis as told. Again, my motherboard is brand new with 2 hours of printing on it, so yeah, there's no dust in there to clean up. The next step was to print the included test model, and I was hoping it had more than a benchy, so I could measure angles, but benchy and printer accessories was all this had. One benchy later, and oh my. So the point of this test was to remove the slicer configuration from the equation, and this, well, this is awful. Finally, I did verify there are no obvious external forces along the XY axis per the instructions. But what this object tells me is there is consistent layer shift to continue moving this across on every layer. Every other layer shift I've had, it would be abrupt and then continue vertically from that point. So this is a constant issue among the entire print. This time for my replacement request, I made an ultimatum because I was so sick of this printer and troubleshooting that I think 2 months of support is now unreasonable. And remember, I still had issues like purging onto the print bed instead of into the poop chute, although probably related. The ultimatum was to process a replacement. I didn't say refund, although that would have been fine at this point too. I didn't realize it at the time, but I was a total paper tiger in this ultimatum. I thought I used my American Express card, which has had my back in the few rare scenarios I've had to talk with them, but no, I used PayPal. And you may think that's fine too. Their buyer protection is really good. Well, that's usually true too, but that's for 30 days. And I am, well outside of that. In fact, payment was November of 2025, and this is July 22nd of 2026. Also, I split that PayPal balance between $400 account balance that I've gotten from affiliate sales and whatnot over many months, and $250 on my American Express. This meant if PayPal did nothing, I'd only potentially get $250 from American Express, and that was it. On top of all that, I paid the $50 to save $100 pre-order coupon thing, so that I'd be out that money too, because that's essentially, again, buying a coupon. At least with the American Express refund, I could sell the Ace 2 standalone and the S1 Max for parts and probably get close to even, but now all I can do is wait. They agreed to replace the printer and include a small token apology from their store. I was legitimately surprised, but also at this point, anything other than a replacement is absurd. Again, 2 months later. They did ask for one more troubleshooting step, and with a replacement response, sure, I was happy to, knowing that regardless of how this next step goes, I was to have a working printer from either that troubleshooting or replacement. The troubleshooting was testing the limit switches in the front right. I didn't think this would be relevant since it homes just fine and doesn't touch the switches once printing a single color, but okay. Both switches are engaged when pressed into its corner, and when homing, if I touch the switch with my finger, it'll stop wherever it is. So that's a success. But I did notice something that might actually be our problem, but without a solution. The closer I get that print head to the corner, the more force I had to apply. It would get there, but the force to move the print head along the rods was not consistent. If it should be consistent, but isn't, that would definitely cause misalignment, skew, and layer shift. These rods have been measured, lubricated twice, and the rollers on the print head are super smooth, so I have no idea. My first few prints before my support nightmare were imperfect, but it's hard to say if it came out of the factory with this defect or if I messed up reassembly. But they did ask a customer to reassemble this printer. I sent my results back and waited. So as of filming July 22nd in the latest response, I didn't get a link to enter my info for that replacement. And instead, I was asked to replace the X-axis motor, which, first of all, the motors in a Core XY printer work in tandem to move it in straight lines. If only one motor is working, it moves diagonally, which you can see in my previous video. More importantly, I just said no. They offered a refund for the trouble, but I'm being honest in that I'm done with this printer and said no. Keep the refund for the extra troubleshooting you're asking me to do. Remember, complete disassembly. Send me a replacement. I've drawn that line in the sand, and what I've learned is to limit the extra information that could help, because this message was supposed to be that replacement link, and it wasn't. I have a few things to say about the experience, and I want to start with the good. Anycubic did respond almost every night, and when my support agent had, let's say, a day off, they sent me an email telling me that. perfect. That's fine. I'm good with communication. Life happens, and I did like that I was being signed an agent instead of floating between whoever was available. I really like that frequent communication, and the agent also trusted my troubleshooting, which can't be taken for granted. I tried to be detailed and provide pictures, which I think helped. In my corporate help desk days, I'd ask somebody to restart their computer, and then I had a command to ping their computer every second. So many employees at that job somehow restarted their computer without ever timing out any of those pings, which was truly amazing. Anyway, the trust from Anycubic was refreshing, and I really did deliver on everything I said I did. Finally, I did get what I wanted, I hope, a replacement, but it just took the long way. The not so good, I had this rep for my previous ticket, and the experience wasn't great due to getting wrong parts while waiting for delivery from China, the seemingly guess and check troubleshooting, and the mix of support articles for various products. The product knowledge, again, is not good. It's bad. Like, again, the mix of wiki pages, the grub screw incident, where these don't have grub screws, parts ordering. The warranty period sucks too. A blanket warranty for all Anycubic parts has a common breakables in a 3-month period. That's like print head kind of stuff. The bed, you get 6 months, and other components is 12 months. Like I would assume maybe a motherboard, the frame, a linear rail, stuff that probably won't break, except maybe the motherboard. Had I not been prudent submitting my tickets, I'd probably get denied within that 3-month window. And this is actually standard across the industry. When looking at other companies, I believe Bamboo has a similar warranty period where potential consumables or frequently moving parts are 3 months and things like the frame are 12 months. I'm hoping my replacement works right away because I've already written off Anycubic. My Kobra 3 Max had serious issues after about 9 months with multiple print head replacements and belt repairs. I sold that when I realized Anycubic doesn't stock many replacement parts, which is a leading concern for the S1 Max too. There are a lot of comments on my other videos sharing printer nightmares, and while it's always a vocal few kind of thing, I'm hoping many can print just fine. It's still a lot more than I'd like to see, because Anycubic focuses on the budget aspect and could be a great contender for somebody entering the hobby. But with issues like this, I don't know about that. So remember to subscribe if you want to see how well this replacement works. Maybe it's refurbished or brand new. We can find out together. I want to finish a review, maybe make a premature maintenance video, to be honest, and then just sell it off. I would love to know what's wrong with it, but I doubt Anycubic would follow up with me after receiving this printer and replacing it. This whole scenario made me realize how important a company's support department is, because this is the first time I've had to use one instead of just fixing it myself. I also have a bad print head on my Snapmaker U1 that I may just give them a call instead of ordering a new print head to see how they compare to Anycubic, even though I think it might be out of warranty. But let's see if they can help me troubleshoot it.